final speaker for this session is Mor Levi, VP of Global Security Practices at Cybereason.
Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk about incident response in a remote world. My name is Mor Levi, and I'm based out of Boston. I'm currently the VP of Global Security Practices at Cybereason. Prior to that, I was leading the IDF CSERT, and I was also working for Ernst & Young, Incident Response, and Forensics Department. My expertise is around security research, incident response, and threat hunting. Before we'll dig into the COVID era, I want to talk about Cybereason. Cybereason is a purpose-built single-agent defense platform. Our protection ranges from full prevention stack on the endpoint that is also able to collect telemetry for detection and response purposes, and it's all being sent to a security analytics platform in the cloud. Our sensor deployment ranges from Windows, Linux, Mac, iOS, and Android. In addition to that, our server deployment ranges from cloud native to hybrid, on-prem, and air-gapped. I'm leading the Security Services Organization at Cybereason. The services organization was established in 2016. We have a 24/7 global coverage using a follow-the-sun model. And our analyst to endpoint ratio ranges between 1 to 200,000 endpoints, where the industry standard is around 1 to 20,000. Our services offer MDR, IR, threat research, and intelligence services. So today I want to share with you a story from the trenches during the COVID-19 era regarding cybersecurity incidents and the insights that we've seen recently. So let's start a little bit about what we've seen and what is the impact that we've seen. So we all know that the world has significantly changed, but the cybersecurity battlefield hasn't really changed. If we look on the attackers, the ransomware attacks, the TTPs, and the threat actors, we haven't seen something that is out of the ordinary. But you're probably asking yourself, what is different? So the thing that is different that we've seen in the past 8 months is the opportunity and the magnitude of the cyber attacks. It ranges from different locations. The lure is a bit more sophisticated. You all heard about the COVID-19 phishing emails and about the COVID spread map that used to deliver malware. But the thing is that the scale and magnitude of the cyber attacks and their impact that we're seeing is really different than what we've seen in the past. And our conclusion is that hackers' opportunities has increased, but the defender's mindset hasn't changed just yet. So I want to share with you one of those incidents that we've recently investigated and to show you the flow. Now, in this incident, there is nothing that is out of the ordinary from a technical perspective. You will know the TTPs, you will know the different type of malware and delivery. But just yet, what was different? You'll see that in a second. So first of all, this attack started with a phishing email that was sent to one of the company's employees. This was sent to the private email of the employee. It was not a targeted attack against the company. The thing is, the employee was open their private email, Yahoo account, Gmail account, could be any one of those, on their company laptop. The email contained a zip protected file, which once executed delivers a malicious macro that eventually infects the company's laptop with a banking Trojan called Iced ID. Banking Trojans in general used to scrape credentials from the authenticated sessions in the browser. So if you're infected on your personal machine, this could scrape credentials that you use to authenticate to your bank account or to your Gmail account and so on. But when you are working on your company's laptop, banking Trojans could be even more riskier for the company, of course, while they're scraping authenticated sessions for business critical web applications. And this could range from Salesforce to GitHub and whatever you use, which is web-based. But yet, the scope and magnitude of this incident wasn't too big of a deal because it was isolated only to one machine. So up until now, it's okay, right? Wrong. Why is that? Because after a few days, the employee needed to connect to the company's VPN. Now, keep in mind, This employee and all of their employees are working from home, so they are remote workforce. So there was one day that this employee needed to access one of the business critical applications that is protected behind the VPN. For the attackers, this was jackpot because they waited for the moment for this employee to connect to the VPN because now they could have execute the real next phase of their attack, which is within seconds to do lateral movement within the organizational network that is accessible through the VPN. The attackers, yet again, nothing out of the ordinary. They leveraged known techniques, leveraged log bins, Metasploit, Parsploit, and Cobalt Strike as a reverse shell in order to do the lateral movements. And then from one machine that was a very isolated incident, within seconds, this organization became to be globally infected from a one machine in the US. Then the attackers were able to pivot to Europe and to APAC. And then within seconds, all of the organization compromised. We're talking about 50,000 endpoints organization, which had a global infection. And that's where we came into play. So let's talk about the impact and the risks of such an attack. First and foremost, the attackers were able to compromise the Active Directory and to steal the domain admin credentials. This means that in a remote workforce situation in the COVID era, the company needed to rotate all of the passwords and credentials of all of the remote workforce users. And it was very difficult for them to actually enforce that, which you can understand how much of a business disruption this could cause. But it's not only that, it's not ended there. The next thing was that there was a global business downtime because the company has decided they're going to shut down the VPN access. This means that all of their employees couldn't access business critical applications because the VPN was shut down. And the reason they did that was in order to limit the access of the attackers and try to contain the incident. But again, remote workforce, it has a lot of disruption on the business when everybody working remotely. Think about it in a regular world, if people were working in a hybrid mode of the office and remotely, the people in the office were not harmed, and then it was a small subset of employees that could not access the VPN. But that's not the case. In addition to that, the network was fully owned by the attackers. The attackers got to the crown jewels like the Active Directory. They were able to scrape credentials. They were able to collect some information from the customer. So the network was completely compromised. And because of the remote workforce, there was a need to contain the incident and to block many areas in the business. The last piece is that the Trojan Iced ID is usually a precursor to the Maze ransomware distribution. Because we were contacted in a good situation or in a good place during that incident, we were able to mitigate that risk of extortion and ransomware attack. So the thing that we do different than others is the mindset shift. And it's not because of COVID. It started before, but COVID just emphasized how much this mindset shift is important. When I was part of one of the big four companies, the way we did incident response and forensics, it took us between 50 to 100 plus days to close an incident end to end. And there's some references you can read in the speaker notes. But the reason this process took so long is because A, we were focused on sending the people to the customer side. So just commuting to the customer side and traveling, with airplanes, this takes between 24 to 72 hours. Once we reached to the customer side, we started the deployment of our tools, which usually done in the site and sometimes it's pretty manual. So this could take several weeks as well. And this considering all of the machines are located where we are and we don't need to receive some, hard drive over email. In addition to that, after we did the collection, the forensically sound collection of the data, it took us several weeks to sift through all the information, and not always it was correlated and enriched with threat intelligence and so on. And then this is the only point when we were able to actually scope the incident and then to act upon it. As you can understand, this takes weeks. When we've built our incident response team earlier this year, we wanted to focus first and foremost on speed. And the average time for us to close an incident end to end ranges between 15 to 20 days, while the critical mass of the incident, which is the incident scope, understanding the landscape and the threats and what we want to act upon in order to contain the incident, ranges between 3 to 6 days for closure of the incident. We're able to do that because we are empowered by the technology of our defense platform. With our technology, we're able to get in a single alert, malloc, malicious operation, the root cause, the tools that's been used as part of the attack, the affected assets, which includes users, machines, files, if there was any network communication that was done by the attackers, and the attack time, which reduces a lot of the work that we need to do. Technology is not everything. I believe most of you are familiar with the golden triangle concept, which talks about the balance between people, technology, and processes. So in this incident, from a technology perspective, the customer had everything they needed. We helped them change the configuration of the anti-ransomware in order to prevent the ransomware execution. They had all of the deployment tools that they needed, and we did surgical isolation of specific compromised machines. What they lacked was the people and processes. From a people perspective, they had a single point of failure, we can call it, of a single focal point that could have changed the firewall and the block list and things like that. And the thing is that this person was located in a different country across the world, which means the feedback loop ranges between 24 to 48 hours until any action could happen between the investigation team and the IT team that could actually stop things from happening. There was also the subject of employee security awareness, which in this case, that's what brought us to the situation from the get-go when the employee clicked on a phishing email that was sent to their private email. And from a processes perspective, it took weeks to replace the infected devices. They needed to limit the VPN access for everyone instead of being able to do that surgically. And obviously, there was no recovery strategy. And this is basically what we believe as part of our company and our services, that we need to have that balance between technology, people, and processes. And this is what we provide with our defense platform and services. So I just want to close that conversation with several notes regarding our conclusions from COVID-19. First and foremost, the security stack and the people that are driving it has been pushed to the limit. We're all super stressed. We are not able to balance between work and our life. And dealing with so many cyber incidents is just pushed us to the limits. Opportunistic attacks are much more successful. Look at this one. This was aimed to the private email of that employee, but the attackers got a much larger jackpot once they realized they are in an organizational network and they're in an enterprise. Malware as a service is on the rise. It makes hacking much more accessible. Many people lost their jobs during COVID-19 and lost trust in their governments, and unfortunately are choosing to shift from regular stuff to try to get some money on the side. And malware as a service enables that. People don't have to be hackers in order to infect machines with ransomware or do extortion attacks. There are higher success rates for ransomware and extortion attacks. I've just read a few days ago about an article that said that the Rio gang did $25 million from March till August 2020. There's an increasing tech stack to protect on. People are using more their mobile devices, their tablets, and their home networks in order to be able to work from home. But this means that those are things that in the past as InfoSec team, we didn't think about protecting, and now we need to protect them. Defenders are more challenged with data privacy. Keep in mind, all of us at home, we have Google Home, we have Alexa, and those devices are listening. So who's listening and where this data is stored while we're talking about our work? There's also a large acceleration and shift from on-prem and appliances to the cloud. From a technology perspective, this is great. The problem is there's still a big knowledge gap and process gap around this shift, and we foresee that this could be also challenging for organization to protect on the cloud. Last but not least, defenders respond much faster. If in the past days and weeks were okay, today it's not enough, and defenders must respond faster within hours or even minutes. I want to wish you that you won't suffer from any cyber attacks and that we'll meet in a much happier circumstances. Thank you.